When Richard Truesdell's name comes up, the first thing I think of is my first day working for Adventure Club. He was the very first parent that I met. He walked in the door, and we were in a room down the hallway. He walked in the door, and I was there. And at that time, only one person had to be here at 6:30 in the morning. And he introduced himself and told me he was Greg Truesdell and asked me who I was, And I told him it was my first day. And he said, "Welcome to Adventure Club. This is my son, Greg. Have a good day. If you need anything, if Greg gives you any problems, anything comes up, just let me know." And I saw him. I think every morning he brought Greg and sometimes Mrs. Truesdell. And then kind of lost touch with the Truesdells. 20 or so odd years later, I get a phone call, a phone message, and says, "My name is Richard Truesdell. I don't know if you remember me, but will you give me a phone call back?" I immediately knew who it was. I called him back, and he told me that he was actually looking to work for Adventure Club. I was shocked. He came in for an interview, told me why he was looking for a job. We hired him. And I didn't realize at the time that he was one of the original parents in Adventure Club. And he brought me a brochure of the very first Adventure Club brochure. And Greg is on the front of that brochure. He's like the poster child for Adventure Club. Whenever I was short in the enrichment class, they called Mr. Truesdell and said, "Mr. Truesdell, you have got to come up with an enrichment class, more than one enrichment class." And he would come in. He'd have 4 or 5 enrichment classes. The last summer that he worked for us, he and I talked about a space class for the following summer. And he said he would work on it. He was always willing to volunteer to do whatever he could to help the program. If a program was short-staffed, I could call Richard, and he said, "Okay, I'll go. I'll be there." I don't have memorable moments. I have memorable conversations with Mr. Truesdell. He would come by and tell me about something, or to drop something off, or to pick something up, and before we knew it, we were in a conversation, and we would talk about his passion was history. He would tell me more about history sometimes than I wanted to know, but it was always interesting. I still miss him at times, especially when it comes around to summer, and I'm scrambling. I hope we get enough classes. And I said, boy, if Mr. Truesdell was here, we had a warmth about him. He was a person to me that was just unforgettable. It just impressed me that very first day that he walked into that room. That's what I always think about, him walking in that room and saying, "Hello, my name is Richard Truesdell. I'm a parent here at Bristol Primary."
I remember I was in his interview screening, and he came in a suit and tie. He was very, very put together, and he was ready. I mean, it was almost like he was going on a business trip for an interview for like a corporate job. I do remember that outfit he would wear all the time, the Adventure Club shirt and the whistle. I mean, that was classic. He was really, really all for Adventure Club. So he loved it, and I could tell he loved it because he wore the same shirt religiously. But that suit stood out to me. I think watching the kids interact with him was my favorite, because he was kind of like their grandfather, and he was that old wisdom, to these younger kids. And so watching that, I mean, especially when you think about kids these days, not necessarily growing up in a household with their grandparents, he was able to give kind of a, just a cool, relaxed grandfather feel, to the kids. I mean, the kids just loved him, So he had so much knowledge, and he just showed so much, information that he wanted to share with the kids, and he just was so excited to be working with kids. So I just remember that about him. Just watching him interact with the kids, I mean, he was playing a game with them or whatever, and it was a game that he hadn't played. It was like I don't know if it was like Sorry or whatever it was, but the kids were like trying to help him learn the game, and he's like trying to be patient with the, like really look at like, okay, how do I play this game? It was just kind of funny that the kids were teaching him how to do things, and that he had that older wisdom. Was like, we didn't play this kind of stuff when I was a kid. I just think I liked having him around. I mean, like I said, these kids don't grow up with grandparents in their houses. They are pretty much mom and dad, and so I just liked having him around. I mean, he was very, very patient, and I mean, I think that he's definitely he was a role model for the older boys who needed someone to kind of be a father figure, or someone that could fill that void that some of those older boys needed. So he was just a cool guy. So
I think what he did for me was open my eyes to the possibilities of all kinds of people being effective facilitators for Adventure Club, and the need for kids to see people of all ages with different kinds of backgrounds, and to not stereotype a particular kind of employee to be the one that would work with school-age children in a before and after school program. Mr. Truesdell was outside that traditional box, and I think I learned a great deal from what he could bring to the kids and to his coworkers. I didn't get to see him that often really at work, because as you know, I don't necessarily go everywhere all the time, but there was a field trip that we took to see a circus, and it was, I believe, summer school, and so I went with a group, and as a part of that event at the circus, they asked for a volunteer to come down, and Mr. Truesdell said, "Oh, I will." Or perhaps all the kids were going, "Mr. Truesdell, Mr. Truesdell." I don't know how he got there. But anyway, he went down on stage. And while I don't remember everything he had to do, he was the best sport. And to see a grown man being silly and really being kind of the butt of the joke, if you will, and to be such a good sport about it, the kids absolutely loved it. And he was so perfect in doing that. It was hilarious. So Greg is next to me during the whole time his dad's down there. Greg's going, "Oh my God, that's my dad. Oh, that's my dad." And it was just really so very, very funny. While Greg was saying all of that, he was also clearly so proud of his dad at that moment. Janice and I, anytime we bring up Mr. Truesdell, we both look at each other and laugh, because we know we are thinking of the same moment. It's pretty special, and I think it's really special that everybody continues to care about his memory and what he brought to all of us, and to do this special dedication speaks volumes. For me, that memory of Mr. Truesdell with all the children, with his co-workers, but then also that special relationship with his son just stands out and really speaks to who Mr. Truesdell really is and was. And we miss him. He's just a warm, gentle, loving soul. He clearly loved kids. He clearly loved all of his coworkers. And while on the one hand he could be sort of a funny exterior in terms of a little initially gruff, he was so soft, so soft.
I've known him since I was in the first grade. I've known him for a long time. I went to grade school with his daughter. And we were friends, actually, in grade school up through middle school. And then we lost touch and rekindled back in high school a little bit. Yeah, I pulled my tooth out at dinner one time. When we were eating dinner, I pulled it right out at the dinner table. Yeah. We were very close, Michelle and I. I remember there's like a period when I was having rough times with my mom, and I would call Michelle, and he would never hesitate to come and pick me up so I could get out of my house to hang out with her. So he'd come get me all the time in his white Dodge Caravan. Yeah. He changed his job after a while. I mean, he had always worked for Union Pacific for a long time, and then he started and wanted to go back to school and do the history thing. He always liked history and was thinking maybe being a history teacher. So I think one thing, if I was to think about that affected me, would be I don't know. You should do what you want to do, whether it be early in life or later in life. If you have something that you're very passionate about, you should go for it. Whether it be, you know, working with kids or teaching history or being a chef or what have you, just doing what you want to do in life is probably something that I would relate back to him. That he was a good person, kind heart, great Adventure Club employee, great dad, great husband.
My favorite Mr. Truesdell memory was, I guess, a couple summers ago when we were working at Hudson, and so Hudson's off of Manchester, and a lot of our employees were coming up Rock Hill and turning left onto Manchester, and the police had, you know, so that's kind of a, I don't know, a tough turn, you would say, to stay in your lane, and so the police were giving people tickets every day. Every day we're having 3 and 4 staff members come in talking about how, oh, I got a ticket taking the turn on Manchester. And, you know, one day Mr. Truesdell got a ticket, and he was, you know, he thought maybe he had done wrong, so he wasn't really too concerned about it. But then the next day, they pulled him over again, and he saw the cop before he made the turn. He was really careful about making sure that he stayed in his lane, and so then he got pulled over, and he must have been heated, because he got out of his car. I mean, this is just what he told us after he got back, but he got out and started yelling at the cop to, you know, prove his point about how he hadn't really done anything wrong. So he got the guy's badge number and wanted to talk to his supervisor, and in the end, the cop didn't end up giving him a ticket. And so, I don't know, just from that moment forward, my impression of Mr. Truesdell was changed forever, because I just thought, wow, like, look at this guy, he's yelling at police officers. I don't know. Even if I felt like I was right in this situation, I don't know if I would just get out of my car and start yelling at the cop. Like, so that's definitely my best Truesdell memory. Anytime someone talks about Truesdell, I'm like, yeah, man, he yells at cops. That dude's awesome. One year, like I said, we're in the same classroom, and he made the rules for the classroom. And I don't know why. After he got done with them, they just seemed really, like they were just really good rules. Like there were only 6 of them, but they were all encompassing. Like they weren't too wordy. It wasn't like anything super specific, like no running. It was just like all about being really respectful, and you know, it was like 5 or 6 things, and it just got everything in those 5 or 6 rules. And I just thought, wow, that's really great. And so I still use that same list of rules. Like it's not the same sheet, but I've copied it down many times, and that's, you know, the rules I use every summer at my site at Steger too.
Had an opportunity to work with him for about 4 or 5 years, and I had the opportunity to be his assistant. And I've learned a lot from him, all his different types of activities. I call him the world man, because he was just come with all kinds of things. So while the kids were learning, I feel like I was learning as well. And it's always a very nice man, a man of integrity, and I just enjoyed working with him. And it was always the same, and I really never known him to be, well, I don't know if I really want to use the word fake, but, you know, he's just always a real guy. I love the way he interacted with the kids. Like, whatever he did, you could just tell that he really cared. He cared about the staff as well as the kids, but he really loved interacting with the children. So they enjoyed all his different activities. Sometimes I would ask about his kids, because me and Greg, we went to school together, so he would keep me updated on what Greg was up to, and just like being in his presence. He was an awesome guy. He will always be a part of my heart, and I think about him every once in a while. He was an awesome man.
He was always dependable, always willing to stay after to help out with whatever. He was reliable, and his classes were very structured to the kids, you never had to worry. As a manager, never had to worry about what was going on in his life. You know, not that he was just an employee, he was also a friend. We always had that relationship. Well, I would say that how he would interact with the children was a great example. And how he had a genuine like for kids. Really made you think about how you would treat children. Yeah, I mean, he really, really wanted to do what he was doing. Which says a lot.
Mr. Truesdell, you could count on him to be on time. He was often 15 minutes or more early, like clockwork. You could set the time by him. Even when he had a fire at his house, there was a garage. His garage burned down in the backyard. He still came to work on time. He just knew that the kids were going to be taken care of. So he just had a whatever it took attitude. So whether it was cleaning, covering the playground, it didn't matter. Because whatever he needed to do, he would do it. So I always appreciated that, and I miss him for those things. He had an impact on our program because he was dedicated to the kids and the staff, and so he was like a model, a role model. He was always looking for ways to give back and save our program. He did most of his activities with paper, pens and pencils. He can create anything in the world with just paper. It was amazing. From learning about the countries in the summertime, enrichment classes, to flag football, whatever. He always found different and unique ways to do stuff. I can't think of a favorite memory offhand. I just can remember how he stood. You know, he had his hands behind his back, and he would point his fingers before he started something, a story or, you know, and, you know, he would pause and tilt his head to the side, sort of, as he was expressing himself. And so that's how I could just remember those expressions, those nuances, nothing in particular. Except when we were in the pool, he always had on a t-shirt and a whistle, even in 100-degree weather. I can't believe the time has passed, and I'm glad that we are doing something to honor him. I guess it just was a wake-up call that you never know when someone's last day will be and how they will leave you. So you just want to live in the moment, but also try to appreciate and value others as best you can. And I just wish his family all the best, and I hope they know how much we appreciated him sharing his life with us.
He was a fun guy, and he always played game with us. He had gray hair. I'm trying to remember his look. He chased us around and pretended he was a monster.
He was a wise and funny guy. He'd chase me and my friend Anne around pretending to be an ogre.
He was awesome. He was a green ogre.
I liked how he always smiled. Whenever you were like sad, he would make you cheer up and like be happy.
With his smile.
With his smile.
He
Yeah.
wore like a blue shirt.
He always wore a blue shirt.
Yeah, and then he always wore jeans. Gray and white. And then he always had like a belt on.
That was like tannish.
Yeah, tan or brown.
It looks like he was from Texas. He was an awesome dude.
having the opportunity to work on this movie was a blessing, if nothing else. Richard was an amazing man, and I knew that from the beginning, but getting to hear the stories firsthand from all the people that he touched and in all the ways that he changed people's lives and made an impact on people's lives was a wonderful experience. Getting to know him in this way, all the ways he impacted everybody, really had an impact on me. In his honor, to this day, I still wear a whistle around my neck on a lanyard, much like he always did. Even though he never used it and I never use it, it's still there to remind me and to remember him. Simply by being able to work on this video, I'm honored and touched and affected in a way I never thought I would be. So, in a way, Richard is still, to this day, affecting people's lives through his life and through his memory and through what he's placed in this world and all the good he has done and all the good that has come because of what he's done since. It was truly an honor to make this video, and it will always be a high point in my career to have worked with him and to have had the chance to remember him in this way. And I can only hope that what I did here honors his memory and shows who he was in some small way, because he was so much more than what these words and what these memories say, and yet these words and these memories create a man who is huge.